Good morning. I'm Mike Van Dusen, Deputy Director of the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's Directors Forum with Jan Kubiš, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Slovak Republic. Mr. Kubiš joins us for the annual Czech and Slovak lecture. This important series was initiated in November 2000 by the Czech and Slovak embassies in Washington. The series, which continues to be co-sponsored by the embassies, commemorates the inspiring struggle for freedom by the Czech and Slovak peoples. The Woodrow Wilson Center, which is proud to host this annual lecture, is a national living memorial honoring President Woodrow Wilson. It provides an essential link between the worlds of ideas and public policy, building bridges among viewpoints, cultures, and walks of life, in order to address current and future domestic and international challenges. The Center fosters policy-relevant research and dialogue to enhance the capabilities and knowledge of public and private sector leaders, citizens, and institutions worldwide. Created by an act of Congress, the Center is a nonpartisan institution supported by both public and private funds. Over the last 9 years, this lecture series has given the Woodrow Wilson Center and its East European Studies program the pleasure to host, among others, Secretary Madeleine Albright, Adam Michnik, the Solidarity leader and prominent newspaper editor, and Václav Klaus, President of the Czech Republic. The lecture series is sponsored by the Friends of Slovakia and American Friends of the Czech Republic, along with the Embassy of Slovakia and the Embassy of the Czech Republic. I would like to recognize and thank Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of Slovakia, Andrej Drobia, and the Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of the Czech Republic, Jaroslav Kurfürst, for their support of this program, as well as Friends of Slovakia founding chairman, Ambassador Ted Russell, and American Friends of the Czech Republic incoming president, Tom Dine, an old friend of many of us here at the Center, and former President Phil Kasich. I would also like to recognize Friends of Slovakia Chairman Joe Senko and Secretary Julie Slavic, who worked hard to make Foreign Minister Kubiš's Washington program a success. Before I give Foreign Minister Kubiš the floor, please allow me to say a little bit about his illustrious career. After graduating from Moscow State Institute of International Relations in 1976, Jan Kubiš began a long and distinguished diplomatic career at the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Czechoslovakia. From 1993 to 1994, he served as ambassador and permanent representative of the Slovak Republic to the United Nations in Geneva, and also represented the country in the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. From 1994 to 1998, he held the office of Director of the OSCE Conflict Prevention Center. He also served as the United Nations Special Envoy to Tajikistan and head of the UN mission of military observers in Tajikistan. From 1999 to 2005, he served as OSCE General Secretary, and afterwards served as EU Special Representative for Central Asia until he was appointed Slovak Minister of Foreign Affairs roughly 2.5 years ago. The Foreign Minister has agreed to take a few questions after his remarks. Foreign Minister Kubiš, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and indeed it is a big honor for me to be here and to deliver this lecture, to be among so many prominent speakers that came here before to speak about the path of both the Slovak Republic and the Czech Republic, the path that has brought us to the situation of today, where both countries, the Slovak Republic and the Czech Republic, have a very firm place among the most developed nations, among the democratic nations in the world. It is definitely something that I'm proud of. And I'm very honored that you decided that I am to be among those that can be here and can say a couple of words on the challenges on the way, but also the challenges that we face in Slovakia also today. And of course, I'm very happy to speak about our cooperation with the United States, because here I am in the United States, and at a very particular moment. So, of transition, that is again something that is very much helping to focus our minds on not only the current situation in our relations, but on, for example, how we would like to see our cooperation developed under the incoming administration of President-elect Obama, and not only from the perspective of Slovakia, but also, and first of all, perhaps from the perspective of all of us, members of the European Union, members of NATO. And this is something, again, that is very important, at least for my country, because Slovakia, that was not there only some 16 years ago, and previously as Czechoslovakia was for many decades a part of the communist system, now is in a position to take over its degree of responsibility for not only our own matters, but also for global issues, for global challenges. This is definitely a honor for us. Of course, this is a particular autumn, as I said, because of the transition, but autumn has a special meaning for my country, and to that extent also for the Czech Republic. And this is the year 2008, and years ending with digit 8, they have a special meaning for be it Czechoslovakia or the Czech Republic and Slovakia. First of all, for Slovakia, it is definitely something to be remembered also when I take into account the year 2008. This is the year when we, for the first full year, enjoy, for example, such an achievement as being fully integrated in the Schengen system. It is free movement of our citizens, of our people, within most of the European Union. For you who were born here in the United States and who had never witnessed problems with free travel, free movement of people, that might seem as not a big achievement. For the majority of our people in Slovakia, in the Czech Republic, in Central and Eastern Europe, this is indeed a major achievement. I remember how difficult it was for me when I was unable, and I was born in Bratislava, it means 68 kilometers from Vienna, how difficult for me it was to understand, and I was unable to understand this, that I cannot travel to visit Vienna, although my father used to go there by tram every other day, because there was a tram connection between the two cities before the war. And then I, for the first time, visited Vienna when I was, if I'm not wrong, 33. So that's why I'm mentioning this, and that's why 2008 and the full Schengen system availability is important. But for my small new country, the year 2008 means the year of a decision that Slovakia will become, as of the 1st of January, member of the Eurozone. Again, a very big achievement, because by this we have moved to the category of the most developed countries of Europe, and we have moved to this exclusive club. And this is not just a symbolic move. This is a move that is a confirmation of a very solid situation of our economy, good development, good perspectives. I will come back to the issue. But of course, years ending with digit 8, they are important also if I take into account the historic perspective of the two countries. It is definitely special. First of all, this is the year when we commemorate the 90th anniversary of the founding of the Czechoslovak Republic, for whose emergence we owe that much to the United States and its President Woodrow Wilson. And I am very happy that I can be here and say this, here in the premises and in the monument, a living memory to President Wilson. And of course, we owe the creation of the Czechoslovak Republic to all those Slovaks and Czechs that then lived here and worked here in the United States. Of course, we honor also those who worked in then the countries of Austro-Hungarian Empire. But we know how important was the role of, for example, the Slovaks here in the United States, how much they worked for the creation of Czechoslovakia as they ideally conceived it as a state of two equal nations, Slovaks and Czechs. That is an achievement, that is something that we remember, and we will remember it, because we should not forget, notably for Slovaks, that move not only helped us to develop as a strong independent nation. I don't think that it's an exaggeration, but it helped us to survive as a nation because of the situation prior to the creation of Czechoslovakia in the part of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy that became eventually today the Slovak Republic was not the easiest one. The historians will tell and are saying a lot about this, but we remember how important was the creation of democratic Czechoslovakia for the survival of the Slovak nation. I cannot overlook also the dramatic year of 1968, the year of the invasion of the then socialist Czechoslovakia by Warsaw Pact troops. And I would like to say one thing. This is important because this invasion not only crushed the Prague Spring, not only put a stop to certain developments, but from my perspective, put finally an end to the illusion that the communist system can be reformed. And I believe that this saved us a lot of troubles, a lot of problems, a lot of hesitations, and perhaps a lot of illusions, also during and after the Velvet Revolution that we commemorate as well, Velvet Revolution of 1989. Because then most of the people in then Czechoslovakia understood this is the end, and we will not repeat history once again. We will not go through yet another cycle of reformed communism. We will move forward back to the democracy we had before in then Czechoslovakia. And that was a very healthy beginning also for the current situation that led us first to the creation of the two independent states, Slovakia and the Czech Republic, and to their growth, to their strengthening, to their positive development as we witness it now. That's why I believe it is also important to understand this aspect of 1968, not only the straightforward rejection of the invasion and the crush of the reform communism, but the end of this illusion that led eventually to a pretty straightforward development also after 1989. Of course, what happened during the period after 1968 was not the easiest part of our life. And again, we understood how difficult it was, and we tried to see a change. Many of the compatriots, many of those that lived in then Czechoslovakia, and many of those that also left Czechoslovakia, moved to other countries, to democratic states, including to the United States of America. And I would like to pay tribute to all those that left their close relatives, their families, because they were not able to live under the regime of communism, but also to those who stayed for personal, family, and many other reasons, but worked for the democratic change in my country. I would like to remember yet another event in this path of then still Czechoslovakia towards democracy. It's the candlelight Christian demonstration that took place in yet another year, ending with Digit 8 in 1988 in Bratislava in March. That was a major demonstration, a massive demonstration organized by Christians for human rights and civic freedom. And although it was suppressed by the authorities then, it took only 1 year plus to the Velvet Revolution. This was a sort of spring of the Velvet Revolution in the Slovak Republic. And I would like to honor those that came to the streets and that suffered subsequently for this expression of their wish to have a free and democratic then Czechoslovakia. I'm very glad that all the events led us to the fact that in the Slovak Republic we commemorate the 17th November as our national day of the fight for freedom and democracy. After a peaceful division of Czechoslovakia on the eve of '93, Slovakia launched on an independent path of continuing transformation to an open democratic society and socially oriented market economy. It was not a straightforward way. It was, notably in the 90s, a very difficult period of trials and errors, of movement forward, but also of some deviations, of sincere efforts to strengthen not only Slovakia as an independent nation, but also to build it as a democratic society, and contrary to that, worked some forces and some individuals. They wanted a slightly different part of our development. Those of you that remember, and we remember because we lived through this, we remember as well that it was indeed not a straightforward, not an easy period, but it helped us. It helped the society in my country. It helped this new country of Slovakia, because all these trials, errors, all these challenges, all the deviations, all the pressures, but also all the victories, they strengthened our society, then strengthened our resolve. They strengthened our orientation towards normal, democratic Slovakia. And finally, all this brought us to become a full-fledged member of the European Union and NATO 5 years ago. So although it was difficult, and I remember that in the 90s there were many, not only critical voices, but people desperate with what was happening, eventually, in my opinion, it helped us. Because with this kind of vaccines we received in our society, with this kind of upsurge of the civil society in my country, I believe that now we are more resilient to eventual problems, to eventual challenges, to eventual and existing attempts that are there, not only in Slovakia, but in all the countries of our region And when speaking about certain challenges, they are existing in the whole Europe or in the most of the European countries. These are challenges that are brought by, be it this very rapid, from a historic perspective, transformation in our countries, but also challenges that are brought by the processes of globalization and changes in traditional ways of life, challenges that are brought by the increasing waves of immigration to European countries, and immigration that is bringing very often different attitudes, different values, different cultures. And it is not an easy situation. When speaking about our region and about our way towards this situation, when we can and are a proud member of the European Union and NATO, I would like to stress the immense help we have received from our friends abroad, and the immense help that we received notably from the United States of America. Again, I'm coming back to the 90s, and although, as you heard from my CV, as of 94, I served abroad. I was not in Bratislava, but I was in Vienna. And Vienna is only 68 kilometers. And I worked for an organization that was, among others, focusing on the issues of democracy, human rights, freedoms. And I remember, because I was in Bratislava every now and then, and I talked to the civil society people, how important was it to get the support of other democratic nations, to help the civil society and to help our country to overcome certain problems that were there in Slovakia, that we were facing on our way, for example, to the EU and NATO accession. And the United States helped a lot. I would like to thank very much all the friends we had here, and we do have here in the United States, for this excellent work. Now Slovakia enjoys excellent bilateral relations with the United States, and I am very proud of that. We are engaged in very meaningful political and security dialogue and cooperation. We are engaged in economic cooperation. We have multitude of cultural ties. Our citizens, they travel to the United States. Citizens of the United States travel and visit friends and relatives in Slovakia. We work together in operations, very demanding operations, like in the Balkans, in KFOR, and notably in Afghanistan. And this is not the end of our story. We will work even more in that particular operation that is crucial for the stability of security, not only of Afghanistan and of that region, but of our countries as well. And we know this. That's why we are there together with you, with the United States. And of course, this good state of relations, bilateral relations, is now and then confirmed by high-level visits, and I am very glad that it was the case also during the visit of President Gasparovich to the United States only 1 month ago, when they, during his meeting with President Bush, confirmed this excellent state of our relations and very good and promising perspective cooperation we have and will have. Notably as well in Afghanistan. That was, by the way, one of the topics that we discussed, or they discussed. I was present at the discussion. And I am very pleased, once again, that this is manifested by such strong moves of friendship, partnership, and support as the move to include Slovakia and the Czech Republic and others to the visa waiver program. I would like to thank President Bush and his administration for this excellent initiative. That will be remembered. That will be remembered well in my country. Because as I said, for us, freedom of travel, it's not just simply a matter of getting from point A to point B without administrative complications. It has a major psychological effect. So once again, and here I would like to use the opportunity also to thank all of you, the US friends of the Czech Republic, friends of Slovakia, my friends, for all your assistance, for all your help you have provided in getting us to this visa waiver program, for all your work with those from the Hill, from the administration, because we needed this assistance, we needed this help. It was very valuable, and it helped. We are there. And it is symbolic that we enjoy this freedom of travel between Slovakia and the United States, Czech Republic and the United States, from this very symbolic date of the 17th of November, from the date linked forever with the Velvet Revolution. This is also quite telling, because these symbols, they are also telling a lot about sensitivities, affinities, and empathy that is there. It was possible to have it started on the 16th or on the 18th or on the 20th, or doesn't matter when. But it was decided that the 17th is telling, and it is indeed telling a lot. Slovakia today is a success story. I don't hesitate to say it. Just take what I have described, our membership in NATO, our membership in the European Union, the fact that we are introducing Euro as the first country of the Central and Eastern European region, the first truly post-communist country, because Slovenia introduced Euro a year ago, but you would not mark that country or label that country as a post-communist country. It was a different story. So this young nation, Slovakia, that has not been there 16 years ago, has managed to join this club, exclusive club, as the first country of all other countries that started some 20 years ago their transformation from the communist system to democracy. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that we are moving forward very strongly in economic terms. Yes, of course, we feel the recession, less the financial crisis, because our country and our economy is small, and basically our banking sector was reformed before privatization a couple of years ago, so basically it's sound. We don't have problems with regard to financial crisis. But of course, as an open economy with 80% export and import oriented towards the member states of the European Union, with the backbone of our economy in the automotive industry, electronics, chemical industry, steel industry, so the industries that are hit by the global recession, we feel and will feel the recession. And yet, we will be the strongest and the fastest growing economy of the whole European Union and of the Eurozone in the coming years. Yet another manifestation and demonstration how far we have gone in the 16 years of our independence. In the third quarter of this year, we registered a growth of 7.1% of GDP. This year, the growth will be well above 7%. And as I said, all the predictions of the European Commission, IMF, European Central Bank, and our economists are telling that we will be the fastest growing economy of the European Union and Eurozone in the years to come. Of course, we planned for more, and I'm not hiding that we will suffer. Next year, most likely we will register the growth of only, quote unquote, 5%. But we planned for 6.4 only half a year ago. So this is telling as well that we will be hit by the recession, most of all because of this openness of our economy. But to be a successful story, it's not enough just to consume this success. We still feel that there is a debt we have. We feel that we have enough experience from our uneasy, sometimes complicated transition that we can share with other countries. And we take this as our duty. So we have started early enough, and we work with the countries of the Western Balkans. We work with the countries to the east of our borders, with Ukraine, with Belarus. But we work also with Cuba, perhaps not that known, but representatives, for example, of our civil society do a lot in Cuba in trying to be in touch with those that have different opinion from the opinion of the government. We try to work with the government as well. But we remember how important it was to have contacts during our problematic times with the outside world, and to have a possibility and to get support to the civil society. And we are trying to help others in this way. So we are engaged and will remain engaged. We are engaged also at a state-to-state level. We provide expertise from our transition and from our accession negotiations with the European Union and with NATO to the countries like Croatia, first of all, where we have a special program, but Serbia today and other countries of the Western Balkans. We have a special program already for several years, an action plan, governmental action plan between Slovakia and Ukraine with regards to the European Union. We work in a similar vein with some other countries. And today I'm very happy that together with other Visegrad 4 countries, Sweden and some other members of the EU, we were those that spearheaded a new stage in our relations between the European Union and countries to the east of our border, so-called Eastern Partnership. Basically a new quality relationship between the member states of the European Union and the European Union with countries like Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, but also the Caucasus countries, that will bring them to the level of association agreements and deep free trade agreements. And we hope to move this program as quickly as possible to the fruition. The attempt is to confirm this program by the end of the year and to start its implementation as of the next year. So this is another proof that it's a multidimensional work through which we try as Slovakia to share our experiences and our expertise to help others to go through the process of transformation as smoothly as possible. The same is valid when we share our experiences from NATO accession. Slovakia serves, or the Embassy of Slovakia serves as NATO contact point embassy in Kiev. And we worked with the authorities, but with the civil society in Ukraine to show the benefits of cooperation between NATO and Ukraine, but also to work against misperceptions in the Ukrainian society. And there is a lot of misperceptions about NATO in the large part of the society. And again, we believe, and we know that it is the case, that it's much better for us to be in this situation because we are a living example of successful transformation. We can deliver this kind of messages with the strength that is necessary, and we are being accepted, that we don't tutor. We simply show our own success, that it is possible. And it is also possible to have good relations with the Russian Federation while being members of the European Union and NATO, and good and loyal members. And it doesn't prevent us, I mean, these good relations with the Russian Federation, from taking a very firm stance in supporting, for example, Ukraine and Georgia in their attempts to get the membership action plan status with NATO. We worked for that before and during the Bucharest summit of NATO last spring, and this is the position of principle that we maintain also for the future. Of course, also their internal conditions must be there, but as a position of principle, we say if we wanted to get to NATO, it was our decision, and if other countries fulfill all the conditions, are ready, are contributing to the security and stability of NATO, then no one should prevent them from taking the path and from approaching NATO and from working with us if we are prepared. So again, an illustration how we work with regards to the countries to the east, but also we share our experiences with the countries in the Western Balkans, and we work with them to help them in their way towards the alliance. I said that we can be considered a success story, and basically all the countries of the region, because all the countries joined the European Union, joined NATO, they assume more and more responsibilities over the work of these two bodies. The Czech Republic will start as of the 1st of January to fulfill the responsibility of the presidency of the European Union, and it is a heavy responsibility, but the Czech Republic has and will have our full support. Only a week from now, I will have a meeting with my counterpart, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Schwarzenberg, in Bratislava. It is not the only meeting. We talk very frequently, but again, to go through all the questions that the presidency of the Czech Republic of the EU will face, and again, to find a way how we can help the presidency, because we consider that the Czech Republic will bear the standard not only of the Czech Republic, but all of us from the region. So this is just telling that we again reached a lot together in the region. And again, why I speak about the region, because without good cooperation in the region, notably of Central Europe, but also with the countries like the Balkan states, like the states, the three Baltic states that are members of the EU and the alliance, we will not be able to reach the successes we have reached. But I don't want to say that all is that rosy. I already mentioned that the process of transformation in our countries has not been that straightforward. And it's true that it brought a lot of hardships to a number of people of our countries. Many of them are asking, where is my social, where is my economic dividend from this? And it's true that many of them are not fully satisfied with this. It's true that many of them are disappointed from the democratic policies as they perceive them in the past 15 to 20 years. Many of them are disappointed after having witnessed the rotation of center-left, center-right governments and politicians coming with slogans, sometimes promises, and many of them, unfortunately, unfulfilled. And it's true that many of the people, they were used for generations to easy, simple recipes, easy, simple lives. And now, with their disappointment, they again look to easy, simple solutions. And they are more than keen to listen to politicians that are offering them easy solutions, unfortunately in words, because they cannot deliver easy solutions, but nevertheless, it is there. And with this certain degree of disappointment, one can see the rise of radicalism as well. I would like to mention this because this is one of the challenges ahead of us, not only in Central Europe, not only in the countries of transformation, but also in other EU members or other countries of Europe. Because while we suffer from this kind of impacts of the transformation, old EU members, for example, they suffer from the impacts of globalization, as I mentioned at the very beginning of my presentation here. And they sometimes do not know how to cope with this. And they have, to all of this, similar recipes as some others have in the countries of transformation. You see the growth of radicalism, you see the growth of populism, you see the growth of nationalism, you see the growth of all sorts of ideologies in too many countries of Europe. You see that political parties that are offering easy solutions at the expense of others, immigrants, minorities, that they are getting more and more popular in many European countries, including in the countries of the region. And I have to say that yes, indeed, also in Slovakia, we have some movements of this kind. We have some parties of this kind. We have some political leaders of this kind. It would be not responsible not to mention this. I'm very happy that although one of the, I would say, political parties that is more on the national side of the spectrum is supporting the government, the policy of government of Slovakia is such not to give any ground, any way, in practical terms, in practical implementation of the policy that would deviate from basic democratic norms. This is the policy of my country. But we have the challenge. And even worse, with this kind of challenges, you see a certain rebirth of some obnoxious movements that we thought are buried in the past. You see movements with neo-Nazi, neo-fascist ideologies. You see movements with clearly anti-Semitic strikes using anti-Semitic slogans and appealing to the lowest feelings and sentiments of some segments of the population. And they are getting organized. They are getting organized in some individual countries. Not in my country, because we have a policy of zero tolerance to neo-Nazis. And only 3 days ago, the government adopted another draft or amendment to the laws of the country that would go even more strictly against extremists, against neo-Nazis, against any signs of intolerance and hate speech. This is a criminal offense in my country, and we follow this. But it's not the case in every country of the European Union. And only some 3 weeks ago, for example, we witnessed an outrage when a group of uniformed neo-Nazis from Hungary crossed the borders of the two states that are open because of the Schengen system and came to the territory of Slovakia in uniforms of the Second World War Salaši, Nazis movement, to commemorate the Munich Treaty-related Vienna arbitrage that deprived Slovakia of the southern part of our territory, including the city of Košice. Of course, they were detained, they were sent back to Hungary, but you know, this kind of provocations, this is going too far. That's why we work now with the government of Hungary and try to design together steps that would put an end to these freewheeling possibilities for neo-Nazis that exist, unfortunately, in Hungary, because they have more liberal laws with regard to this kind of situations than in my country. But as I said, I'm very glad that finally we worked together with Hungary, and the two prime ministers met a couple of days ago, effectively a week ago, in one of the border cities, and agreed that steps must be taken against this kind of moves. I would like to finish my presentation with a couple of words on what we, not as much Slovakia, but we, Slovakia, as member of the European Union and NATO, see as priorities with regards to our future cooperation with the incoming US administration. Because this is the time of change, this is the time of transition here, and of course we need to start thinking about also future tasks. First of all, we would like to be good partners. We would like to work in partnership with the United States. We are very happy that from President-elect Obama we hear this kind of signals that he would like to work more with the EU, with NATO. He would like to strengthen transatlantic relations. The second, what I would like to say is that we need to fairly early determine what are our common priorities. I believe that we can find a common ground here, because we understand that, for example, priorities like Afghanistan, like Middle East and other crises, like nuclear program of Iran, but also priorities that I consider extremely important: energy security and independence, climate change, global poverty, growing inequality. They need our combined common approach, and it is necessary to start and develop this common approach as soon as possible, not to let the time pass and not to start only in the middle of the new administration. That's why we, as members of the European Union, discussed well ahead, without knowing who would be the new leader here in the United States, our understanding of what should be the priorities and what should be the approach of our future cooperation. And the current French presidency spearheaded an effort to prepare a sort of position paper on that, and I know that they will be, as soon as possible, in touch with the incoming administration to work and to kickstart this joint effort as soon as possible. And of course, we need to think about not only cooperation between the EU and the United States, but also about NATO. Because NATO, this is the cornerstone of our Slovakia security, but we believe that that's the cornerstone of security, stability and development in the world from a global perspective. Although here I would like to say that there must be a certain limit to what NATO will take as its function. And we would like to see NATO to be 100% credible guarantor of our security. And in a way, to come back to the basics, to look at Article 5, whether we are prepared to deliver collectively whenever there might be a need. But NATO for us is indeed the cornerstone of our security, for us in Slovakia, for everyone. And it means strong transatlantic relations. We will always maintain this, and we will follow this line also in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that I have not tired you too much with this account of what represents Slovakia today, of the way of Slovakia to its today's situation, where we can be indeed proud of where we are, of the challenges that are there in front of us, in our society, in our societies, in the region, of our cooperation with the United States, not only from the perspective of my country, but the whole region, and notably the EU and NATO, and on the tasks from a more global perspective that are ahead of us, and where we as Slovakia, we as members of NATO and EU would like to give our own contribution to their solution. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Foreign Minister Kubiš. I'm very glad you didn't take your eights to 1938, and I noted that. But as an American, I also want to thank you for the role that your country is playing in the Balkans and in Afghanistan, and we appreciate very much your support and your willingness to provide leadership there. I think we have time for a couple of very quick questions before we have to move on. And just identify yourself. You'll be given a mic. We have 2 mics on either side, and we'll just take two quick questions if there are any. Yes, down here in the front.
Minister Kubiš, is it on?
It may not be on, but go ahead to speak.
I like to.
Yeah.
I like to raise a question I raised with you 2 years ago and wrote about it. Not my question, but about your appearance. It's a question that was also raised here by President Klaus, and that is one of Slovakia's sovereignty. As one who has devoted his full life, really, including the professional career, about developing Slovakia as you have portrayed it, I am also very proud, as other Americans are. And this is bothersome to some of us, certainly me. I write for Jednota, as you may know. And I'm going to write about this presentation as well. It's a wonderful presentation. You are proud of Slovakia's development, and we are in the United States equally proud. However, we have noted the acquisition of greater and greater power by the European Union. NATO is great, but the European Union gives us a pause. It's a pause of really sovereignty, and I just cite one, the Concordat with the Vatican. They have acquired power not only politically, socially, culturally, but militarily as well, and we wonder whether they are not going too far into the internal affairs of member countries. Please, your view after these 2 years.
Okay, I can go one after another. So, first of all, sovereignty. You must be convinced. You as nation, as the government, you as member of the executive, but also member of the parliament, etc., you must be convinced that you do everything to protect, promote your sovereign rights, your sovereign interests, well, that you are able to define them well. That's the point of departure. Otherwise, all that is an empty shell. And I would say, these are personal comments. I would say that maybe at the very beginning, when we started as a sovereign nation, we were not very sure what it means, how to play with it, you know. And even when we were trying to get into both the alliance and the European Union, the first objective was to get there, to assume all the responsibilities, to accept and absorb all the acquis, to behave, to show that we are responsible, that we have adapted ourselves. Now we are there, fully fledged members, speaking about the European Union. We have learned the instruments. We have learned how to work with the acquis. And it's indeed, first of all, for us to define what we would like to do there, what are our objectives. In many areas, economic cooperation, economic development, climate changes, CO2 emissions, and what does it mean from our own perspective? For example, when thinking about our industries, chemical industries, etc., and look at all the laws and regulations that are being developed. We must protect our sovereignty, working within as a totally, fully independent and sovereign country. This is the objective. It's not about notions that we give up our sovereignty by giving certain rights or creating certain mechanism through which we work together as members of the European Union. This is our own sovereign decision, and according to the treaties, we always have the right to leave although that area of cooperation or the European Union as such, if we would feel that this is not appropriate. So it's more about how we feel sovereign and how we implement the sovereignty. We are not and should not be felt threatened by the fact that we reinforce our cooperation in selected areas, and there is more and more of them because it's helped us. But we must know what we do, and we must be in control of this mechanism. This is the most important, at all levels, parliamentary level, etc. The Lisbon Treaty provides us for more instruments to be in control, but also for more instruments of working together with other members of the European Union. And again, I am not concerned that we moved to better cooperation in areas of home affairs and justice. This is usually one of the top sensitive areas for every country. Because again, these are selected areas. We know what we would like to achieve, and we work there to get it. So we are well protected. I'm afraid that sometimes this kind of, let's say, concerns that are being expressed, well, first of all, they are coming a bit late in the process. Secondly, I don't believe that they express the predominant thinking. Thirdly, I believe that also the people, by and large, they are happy with the European Union. Even in Ireland, they say, we are happy with the European Union. They were concerned that they might lose sovereignty, for example, when deciding about their participation in certain military or peacekeeping operations of the European Union. That was simply a false argument that was introduced to the discussion malevolently by this minority group that is against European integration. Malevolently, because they knew that this is never to be a case. But nevertheless, for this neutral island, that was a very strong argument. People, they were not sure what was there, but they thought, oh, if the politicians are telling us that it might be a question, or might be under question, then we have to be concerned. But the second message from Ireland was, yes, we are strong Europeans, we would like to be members of the European Union. And this is when you go around the European Union, this is the feeling of the people. This is the feeling of the people in Slovakia, in the Czech Republic, and everywhere. Ask them. They will tell you. They benefit, they profit from this relationship. So again, it's more a political question. As I said, it's coming late. And basically it's coming from those that lost this political and civil society dispute already a long time ago. And basically, I don't think they do represent or will ever represent the mainstream opinion in our countries. They might be very vocal, but it's not the mainstream. And again, it doesn't mean this enhanced, reinforced cooperation that we are giving up our sovereignty. It's more in our attitude, approach, how we are able to work with the instruments. If we know, if we have enough determination, then there is never a question about losing sovereignty. I can give you just a small example. In a very sensitive area, I might be criticized for that position, and I am being criticized, is the issue of Kosovo. I mentioned industries and economic cooperation, but this is foreign policy and security issue. We as Slovakia have not recognized Kosovo. And we were able to work within the European Union to get a solution, common solution of the European Union on a number of things without losing on this position. We found a way how to accommodate our minority position with the majority position of those members of the EU that recognize Kosovo. What kind of loss of sovereignty?
One last question.
Minister Kubiš, I'm a member of a Friend of Slovakia. I just came back from Bratislava, and I was indeed very much distressed what I have seen in Kráľovský Chlumec, namely that board. My question to you is that why do you label this group of dressed farmers in these fatigues with ridiculous goose feathers, you know, who stood there in line bewildered as fascists when on the band, what they had on the arms, there was not a sign of an arrow cross. See, I'm older as you, and I have seen, and I was in Košice when the Szálasi regime in March 44 took over Hungary. So these people, to my view, are, since they came in time of the Vienna arbitrage, came more as a group of irredenta, but not as a fascist group by definition, because they did not have the signs of arrow cross on the bands. Okay? That's my question.
Mm-hmm. You know, of course, when I looked at the photos and video, because it was shown on our TV, the first was a sense of, you know, irony, sadness, but also it was ridiculous. But it would be a very simple attitude. I would say it would be an attitude of a layman. Most likely with this kind of attitude, many approached Hitler when he started in Bavaria with his beer putsch. They were laughing at him when he was first arrested. The whole Germany was laughing at the Buffen. And you know what happened afterwards. These guys, yes, they have the uniforms used by a certain National Guard during the fascist time. Yes, they have the armband that is different. They have the ideology, because they are telling about their ideology of Szálasi movement. They have the ideology. They have some of the symbolics, not all of them, some of the symbolics. And they came with this provocation in uniforms crossing the borders to Kráľovský Chlumec to commemorate the Vienna arbitrage. You know, too many symptoms, too many symbols of neo-Nazism. If there were only one group, perhaps, but even one group is enough. But you know very well that you have Hungarian Garda in Hungary. Hundreds, now I believe that it's more than 1,000 people in uniforms with fascist ideology, marching through the streets of Budapest and other cities, marching through the Roma villages. 3 weeks ago, groups affiliated to this kind of movements put a fire on a house with a Roma family. And when they were leaving the premises, 2 of them were shot and killed. This is fascism. You can't call it in any other way. They are using the symbols, they have the same attitude, and they are unopposed because according to the laws of Hungary, this is freedom of expression. It's dangerous, in our opinion. It is dangerous. They are clever. You know, these groups, they know how to balance. So, yes, their armbands were without the Salashi cross. But that was all. That was the only difference. So that's why we are concerned and will remain concerned. And once again, I was very glad that two prime ministers now, finally, we wanted to talk since the very beginning of the existence of this government with our Hungarian friends. But finally, they agreed, and Prime Minister came to Komárno, and both of them agreed that this is dangerous. I'm very happy that this recognition came. I would never dismiss this, although I myself, when I saw their photographs, I said, my goodness, this people with complex of inferiority that they must somehow then balance by dressing themselves in this operetta uniforms. But it is not the right attitude when you see what is happening, at least from my perspective. Thank you.
Let's give Foreign Minister Kubiš a round of applause. I would ask that Ambassador Russell and Joe Senko of the Friends of Slovakia and Tom Dine and Phil Kasich of the American Friends of the Czech Republic come forward. They want to make a presentation to the Foreign Minister.
On behalf of Friends of Slovakia, I want to thank the Foreign Minister very warmly for flying all the way over here for this splendid presentation, the 9th annual Czech and Slovak Freedom Lecture. I also want to thank you, having arrived in your part of the world in 1968, in 1988, and in 1993, for all your work in keeping the antibodies of freedom and democracy flowing through the body politic of your country and helping with other countries as well. And I want to thank you very, very warmly for the very strong support you give to building and strengthening a Slovak-American friendship. So therefore, Friends of Slovakia would like to award you with our Medal of Honor, which features the head of General Stefanik and the American Eagle. So we hope you will accept that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really honored. Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice.
So on behalf of the American Friends of the Czech Republic, and Joe, your signature's on this, so the Friends of Slovakia. First of all, just to personalize this, I loved your last answer. All power to you. All power to you, and may those antibodies continue to flow through Slovakian polity. So it's a certificate of appreciation that Joe and I signed, and we wish you well in conducting Slovak foreign policy and building a great nation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great.
I'm very much honored, and thank you, both groups, Friends of Slovakia and the US Friends of the Czech Republic, for this tokens of appreciation. I'm very touched and very much honored. Thank you once again.
Thank you for being here.